Now, I already know this is going to be one of those videos where some people are going to say after they watch it, yeah, Thor, I already knew all that, while others are going to vehemently disagree with pretty much everything I have to say. So why am I making it then? Because there are pretty much two questions that I get asked all the time, and I figured the best way to answer them once and for all, well hopefully anyway, is with a short video. Those questions are, why are Rey and the Millennium Falcon both found on Jakku, and why is Lor San Tekka also found on Jakku with the map to Luke Skywalker? How can both of those things be just a coincidence? Certainly it must mean something, like Rey is Han and Leia's kid, and Lor San Tekka was there to watch and protect her. Well, actually, I'm here to tell you there really is no hidden meaning to find in these things, that they are just coincidences of convenience for the sake of the story, or in other words, they're plot devices, or things that have been placed where they are for no other reason than to get our main characters together and the story moving. Because what you have to keep in mind is one of the main goals of The Force Awakens is to eventually get Rey to Luke, and you don't want that to feel too contrived, or like things are always happening exactly the way they need to at just the right time, even though that's exactly what happens throughout the whole movie. And to be fair, that's what happens in pretty much every movie ever made. But above all else, they want the story to feel natural and organic, like events are just happening by chance or luck, or because the characters themselves are making those events happen, not because there is actually a storyteller behind the curtain making this all up, even though there actually is. Star Wars, however, does have the added benefit of being able to claim that, at times, things happen because of the will of the Force. And when you consider how massive the Star Wars galaxy is, and how many beings inhabit it, it's actually insanely crazy to think that BB-8, who has a map to Luke Skywalker, just happens to end up in the hands of Rey, who is destined to find Luke one day. And then shortly thereafter, she runs into, again of all people in the galaxy, Luke's best friend Han Solo because the Millennium Falcon just so happened to be on Jakku. That sequence of events right there is either the greatest coincidence in the history of the Star Wars galaxy, or it is the will of the Force. Either way, the movie doesn't want you thinking about how convenient that all is, and tries to move fast enough where you don't even have a chance to really think about it or question it, and it also throws little curves at you to try to throw you off. For example, when we first meet Rey, she doesn't seem to be anything special. She just seems to be an average girl trying to grind out a living on Jakku. She doesn't seem like she has any type of destiny or grand purpose, even though in the back of our minds we know that probably isn't going to be the case. She also rescues BB-8 instead of just straight up finding him and taking him in for some reason. And when she does rescue him, she tries to shoo him away, and she's even tempted to sell him a couple scenes later. All these things are put into place to try to distract you from the fact of how convenient it is that these two ended up together, especially later on when we realize that Rey is destined to find Luke, and again, BB-8 just happened to have a map to him. And then there's Lor San Tekka being on Jakku and meeting Poe there of all places in the galaxy. And the fact that the First Order finds them, though it never gets explained how they did, they just show up. Much like how A New Hope starts, we're thrown into the story and action so fast that we don't even realize we're not being told a lot of the who's and what's of what's going on. We're just trying to keep up and go along for the ride. And that's really what Star Wars movies are. Fun rides where you're not supposed to get too wrapped up in the details, even though a lot of us Star Wars fans, myself included certainly, want to know all the details and oftentimes look for clues as to what's to come in all the wrong places. Then there's the Falcon being on Jakku of all places, and they try to hide this little plot device by making Finn and Rey both head to a different ship at first, and when that one gets blown up, they make a joke about how the Falcon is a piece of garbage, which again distracts you because it's funny. And before you know it, we're in the middle of an epic chase sequence, and soon enough Han is boarding the Falcon, and before we even know it, we've forgotten how crazy it is that the Falcon was on Jakku of all places, and that Rey, who still has BB-8 and a map to Skywalker, ends up running into Han Solo, Luke's best friend. But it isn't long before Rey rattles off a long list of people who have owned and lost the Falcon since Han himself lost it. This is done to make it feel like, yeah, it was just dumb luck for the Falcon to be on Jakku, that it's not some type of clue to Rey's origin. And the real reason why they made Rey know the Falcon so well and is a great pilot is not to make her a Mary Sue, but to give Han a reason to take a liking to her, and to even offer her a spot on his crew. And if Han likes her, we're more likely to like her too. And another goal of this movie is for us to care about Rey and her story. Now look, I do think that Jakku itself may end up being important to the overall story, and that we may get back there in one of the next two movies, but I wouldn't look too deeply for meaning as to why the Falcon and Lor San Tekka were both there. They're both just plot devices, not clues to Rey's origin or anything else for that matter. And like I said at the start, a lot of you probably already realized that, while others will likely want to argue that they are clues. But sometimes, and I'll certainly include myself in this again, we almost give the storytellers too much credit and assume that every little thing we see or hear has been carefully considered and will factor into the overall story in some amazing way. Now, yes, a well-edited movie will not have scenes that end up irrelevant to the story by not furthering the plot or developing characters, but you can't always assume some grand purpose or design is at work at every moment. Well, that's all I got for you this time. Now it's your turn to let me know what you think. Were those just plot devices, or is there a greater meaning to the Falcon and Lor San Tekka both being on Jakku? Let me know in the comments below, and let's talk some Star Wars. And if you like this video, check out some of my other ones or go ahead and subscribe. If you want to know when I upload new videos, hit the notification button or just follow me on Twitter. And as always, thanks for watching.